For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast that lets us talking do the football. We're live on a Tuesday night, and we are the only podcast that, like Jesse Ramian, just seems to go round and round, circles and sideways, never going forward. One man who's been looking forward to talking this week and never goes round in circles is Chris Kelly. I'm just going to give you this open forum. Have you got a message for any of your family members who support the Dragons after that terrific win last week? Chris, you got a message?
No.
Are you going to say nothing?
Sorry. No, God, go the Dargans. Sucked in.
This is our house, Kyle.
Oh, this is just go the Dargans. It's sucked in. All right. Well, they've also made their presence known. You might have heard their voices. We've got the full panel here tonight. We've got Franko, of course, like normal. We've got Scott Latino, and we've got Matty Williams. Now, Matty Williams has accepted a challenge after I hosted the ET Stand trivia down at Sharks at Karilla last Wednesday night, and there is a second one of those coming up. Matty Williams has accepted a trivia challenge. Now, it is Matty Williams versus everyone else in this trivia challenge. Franko, Latz, and Kelly, you will have to determine who is going to be the captain of your team that will submit the answer. And you also have the help of everyone watching. So they can get involved in the comments and provide answers. But let's not cheat. So there's a little bit of honesty going on here too, guys. So we've got that coming up later in the show. If you're watching us on YouTube and haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so. And then also hit that little notification for our videos. We've got stuff that's coming up as well. We're doing a watch along with the Wars Up TV guys on tomorrow night to watch the State of Origin. That'll be a lot of good fun. And then we'll also have the opposition fan preview. And then we've got the piece de resistance, the debrief, where we download on what we just saw following the Sharks versus the Broncos. Also joining us is you guys. So get involved in the comments. We're still running the competition for best comment. There have been 8 entrants so far. So tonight's show will be the last entrant before we draw the winner tomorrow night during the watch along. So a few people are already in the comments there. Harley saying Tamaya Kelly signs as re-signed for the Sharks, gearing up for the 2025 NRLW season. 2.0 saying, well done on the layout, Boldo. Good to see it organised. I'm trying a different layout tonight. That took up a lot of time. This is true. And then Williams 2.0, oh no, he's back. How lucky can one man be? So damn lucky. Well, look forward to the 7-minute cameo. What's the 7-minute cameo? What's he going on about there?
About Atkinson.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh. Okay. If you haven't found the Discord channel yet, you can do so. There's a whole bunch of like-minded Sharks fans who carry on like we do, and you can click on that link there. And look, Dean's already asking us questions about Talakai. We're going to answer that question about Talakai when we talk about him because he has been named tonight. All right. Jam-packed show. So we've got the big questions coming out of the Dragons match. So Williams and Kelly didn't get a chance on the debrief, so they're going to be fired at the questions. I've got an amazing hot take. That's not mine. So at halftime, Franko dropped a bit of wisdom on me when the Sharks were down, and Franko is either going to share that hot take or an alternative one. I'm not sure which one that's going to be as he sips on his coffee. So he's going to do that for us. Latz has all the latest Sharks news. We're going to preview the Broncos match, and we'll also talk about State of Origin. And then we have that previously aforementioned trivia challenge. But let's get into it, lads. The first segment is some fallout. Let's just cover that off. Unanswered questions from the Dargans match. Chris, Sharkies were down at halftime, and then they came back to win. How impressive was the Dragons' win on Thursday night?
Dragons loss.
All right, well, our Dragons win.
Our Dragons win. Yeah, look, it's probably summed up by Anik leaving the house at halftime to go pick up Zach, and I was raging and ready to break my new TV because it was so terrible, into coming home and find me quite happy and yelling and screaming and ranting and raving. So it was a tale of two halves, and we're going to go cliches in it. I think I was more frustrated, like most Sharks fans, where you saw what we did in the second half. It should have been 80 minutes of that, where it was just ruthlessness against those guys, and they just didn't have an answer for us. So I wish we sort of showed that in the first half, maybe in the last 20 minutes of that first half, where we tend to switch off. We've talked about a few times where we just flick the switch, because the first 10 minutes we were great, and then it was just off for 20 to 30 and then back on for 40 minutes. So happy to get the W, but it's starting to put a couple of Band-Aids on some gunshot wounds there, I think. So we'll take the 2 points and move on.
Speaking of Band-Aids, Hiroti came off injured, been replaced, not named this week for obvious reasons, out for 4 weeks. Matty, have the Sharks mismanaged the injuries this season, rushing too many players back? Is that going to catch up with us at the end?
It's a lot, yeah. A lot of questions asked. Sorry, Kelly, about I suppose playing Hiroti to begin with. That's a calf injury. Where what was he carrying? Was it hamstring or knee? I think it's a new injury, but yeah, I think
all those things are connected though. Like if you injure one thing, you're more likely to we'll get Francis on here from Southside Physio.
I'm sure.
If you have an injured knee, you got an injured calf.
Talk about the running chain and the impact that has on injuries. It happened to Nico last year and preceding years as well with his calves and like. Yes, the short answer is yes. I think there's been a necessity to try and play some players through injury or wrap them up and send them out there and see what happens. And it's frustrating though, because we knew Hiroti was on leg, and when he came off after, barely 20 odd minutes, so they reckon he played 20 minutes whilst injured. It's really frustrating. There's talk of Gabriel or Vayala. Could we have blooded them prior? Maybe not, given that we've been in such a downswing of form lately. You don't want to risk them in a match where they could be thrown to the wolves. So I think it's kind of a lot of words saying that it's been a necessary management. We've got to cop what we've got, but how we've managed it is probably not as well as we'd like because of the lack of the depth there, which could have been fixed maybe if we played Vayala last year against the Warriors when we were going to, but we didn't, and a few other opportunities like that. So yeah, would it have happened under a different coach? Maybe not.
William Kennedy.
The Dragons being the wolves that we'd be throwing them to, but I take your point.
I'll rephrase that we could have, for example, debuted one of them last week if they were fit. I think there's been was Vayala, one of them, or Gabriel.
Gabriel is injured, yeah.
Injury concerns. So that's not ideal, but that would have been a game to play him because you don't want to play him against Stags this week, as an example.
I just think you've got to have your top guys available at the end of the season. So if you've not got them there because you've played them with niggles and like Hiroti was clearly not right.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Will Kennedy, Chris, was the top of the Daily M leaderboard about round 12. Now is not. Has Will Kennedy played himself out of a contract these last couple of weeks?
Oh, out of a contract from us or out of a contract?
Out of a contract from us.
Oh, if Williams just touched on it, and I'm sure we'll go deep diving into our squad and coach at the moment. I doubt he's got himself out of a contract at Cronulla. I can see him easily re-signing, given what stocks we don't have at fullback at the moment. Depends if someone else comes up on the market, it's a different option. But my God, he's just fallen off an absolute cliff, hasn't he, over the last 3 weeks? Like it's daylight and I don't know, darkness. It's just bizarre. So
just in regards to that, CK, I'm hearing rumours in the socials about a possible Jai Gray coming to the Sharks. So that'd be a pretty handy little pickup mid-season, given how trim we are on stocks.
Yeah, I'd say a little pickup because he reminds me of Nathan Gardner. He just, I don't know. He's got guts and he's pretty good, but he's very miniature in those sort of standards. So I'd like to hunt around a little bit more if we're not going to re-sign Kennedy.
I don't know.
Franko, you keep an eye on the contracts. Franko, give us a take on the contracts. Why haven't they signed it?
Oh,
they're out of bucks.
I mean, yeah, it's been reported that financially the cap is strained, But also in that same vein, I think the club had a bit of hope on Ison and Dykes. Three fit and healthy players running around this year would have given them an opportunity to see maybe what the future held for the Sharks custodian in the number 1 jersey. But I think, unfortunately, with the injuries to both Dykes and Ison, long-term injuries, has kind of left them in this no man's land of, well, we wanted to evaluate before signing Kennedy. Now we've got nothing to evaluate except his own form. And while there's no one knocking on his door, there's probably no rush from the Sharks to get him signed up. So certainly a wait and see here. There's a few fullback options out there. I think we've mentioned in the past, maybe getting Chevy Stewart back from the Raiders would be a good one if we could. But ultimately, Kennedy's good at what we need at the moment, and that is theoretically a cheap fullback.
Can't catch the ball.
Well, that's been the last couple of weeks, but traditionally he's been solid.
Back that we played against, he can't catch the ball. He's on massive money. He's on huge coin.
Maybe none of them can catch the damn ball. All right, let's move on. Toby Rudolph returned to the team. A very popular response on social media once the Sharks fans found out Toby Rudolph was picked. Matty, what does a fit Toby Rudolph mean for this team?
Key part is fit, and fit both healthiness, as in not injured, and also actually fit. Actually able to play more than a few minutes without blowing hard, but make that what you will. He, was great. Is a huge in for us. If he plays like he did, even if it was only for a short period, if he can expand that, that's huge for our forward pack. Obviously, fitness has been a question for Toby for a long period of time now. He had the turf toe injury and other things like that, including his infamous match against the Bulldogs last year. But if he can play like he did on the weekend, good go forward, good quick play the balls, and looks like he's been looking after himself, then that's a huge in for the team. And I'd say he'd be a definite bench player, and I'd put him above, let's say, Toby's out for a while, but Tom is out for a while, but he'd be a definite prop option off the bench, probably ahead of Hamlin Willie, and maybe even put pressure on Kafusi for a starting spot if he gets fit in a aerobic sense as well.
All right. Stuart Campbell has come through in the comments saying Atkinson is going to get a sports bet market soon for over or under 11 minutes. I think it'll be lower than that, Stuart. Chris, Daniel Atkinson, round and round in circles. Surely now he will not play in the playoffs at number 14 once we get a couple of those extra forwards back. Is that done?
You've only got to look at the selection this week. I feel like we're back in last season. I'm sure we're going to get some of our viewers back on here to take on Franko about Talakai being a centre or not being a centre, which is the title of our show.
Where is Paul? Where's he gone?
Where are you, Paul? We miss you.
I love you, Paul.
I got on the debrief. I got the team list straight away and mentioned to you guys it's going to explode on social media, and it has from what I've read already. It's just plug and play, and Atkinson at 14, and Talakai in the centres, and no one to debut, and it's just bizarre. So I'm going to say he's going to play in the semi-finals. It's just he's going to.
All right, you heard it here first. Atkinson's going to play in the semi-finals. And then lastly, Matty, a discussion point that came up a lot in the debrief was the discussion of how we fit the three wingers in if we are at full strength with Katoa, Stone Street, and Ronaldo. Is there room for all three of them, or is there going to have to be one of them pushed out?
Sounds like an obvious answer to the question, but can they play anywhere else? Katoa and Stone Street, I'd say no. I know 2.0 was talking about putting Stone Street at fullback. If we're worried about Kennedy under the high ball, Stone Street, he may well be a legend under the high ball in due course, but at the moment he is not there. And so Katoa, I don't think he's played any fullback for us either. Ronaldo has played in the centres for us, and there's been talk of how would Ronaldo go at fullback. I don't know. I think it would either be amazing or it would be horrific. So unless you can move one of those players.
Yeah, Ronaldo.
Three don't go to two.
Ronaldo was a centre in his junior days and also played fullback for under 19s Queensland. So he's certainly had some games around the place. His fullback game for that that under 19s Queensland team wasn't spectacular. So it wouldn't be my first choice. Obviously, an older head now and different body, but I think we don't tinker with that too hard and just say one of them misses out.
Fitz, funnily enough, played him at centres early in his career. Sorry, Kelly.
How did he play for
Kelly.
Queensland? He wasn't eligible.
This was before they realised that he wasn't eligible. Notice.
I think there are softer, relaxed rules for the under 19s. I think.
No, he was picked for Queensland. And it was when he was doing an interview, he said something, and they went, "Hang on a second, wait, what do you mean you were 14 or whatever when you were playing there? That's not right." And so they went back and looked at the paperwork and went, "Oops, sorry, no, you can't play for Queensland."
It was on the eve of the game.
It was on the eve of the game. And I think he'd already played for New Zealand by that point too. And I thought parts of the media had already asked the question going, this is Queensland doing Queensland things. But anyway,
he should have been picked as a travesty.
We're not here to talk
It would have been so good. And they're not going to support Queensland legitimately.
Just to bring it back on track, Boldo, you're right that Ronaldo at fullback would be both amazing and horrific all at once. He would score, I reckon, or be involved in a length of field try, and then either drop a bomb or give away a diabolical penalty at a key moment, and that would be that. So, I think keep him where he is, and I suppose the other two are fighting it out. And you'd say on form, if Stone Street was fit, I'd be picking Katoa, just on form alone. But obviously it's a difficult spot because Stone Street is the future.
I'd be tempted to play Ronaldo in the centres. He often positions there if you were really struggling. Obviously, Stone Street's currently injured, so we don't really have that opportunity. Yeah.
Fitz native in the centres his first couple of games for us back in 2022. And then he was, I think, late scratching, saw him move to the wing. But he has played at least one first grade game for us. He's been named at least 3 times in the centres for us in his career. So it's something that could happen. You're
just an encyclopedia of Sharks knowledge, aren't you, Williams?
I'll check Rugby League Project. Shout out to them in a sec, but I'll check how many games it was. But the only thing with Ronnie, and I'm surprised no one said it, that Ronnie won't be, I suppose, critiqued for coming in off his wing if he's defending the centres. So
I think Ronnie's never at fault when he comes in off his wing. It's because the defender on the inside hasn't got the guy covered. I'm with you, Ronaldo. I'm with you.
On the back three, if we sign Jai Gray, he's got my vote as long as he doesn't grubber to himself in the in-goal Nathan Gardner style, as in his own in-goal, and give up a weak try. But anyway, that was 11 years ago.
Fair enough.
Williams.
All right, get over it, Williams, indeed. Okay, well, let's move on to the next segment. Now, I was sitting in the ET stand on Thursday night, and I was a little bit sad, but we came back, so that was fine. And Franko hit me with an absolute gem of a hot take and an observation he had about the Sharks. Franko's hot take is brought to you by Morgans at Cronulla. Why? Because if you've got a stock-breaking need that you've got a hot take or something you think is going to happen, then maybe you should action that and call the guys from Morgans at Cronulla for all of your stock-breaking needs. Call Charles and Chris. They'll be able to help you out. The link is in the description. I thought that was a pretty good advertiser segue, actually, the hot take and the thing. Franko is here for a hot take. Enlighten us, mate.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks very much, guys. This one stems from the press conference 2 weeks ago where Fitzy mentioned it's a simple game. This was then echoed by Captain Cam a minute later where he attributed the Warriors' actions to it being a simple game and with the Warriors doing it better than us. Now, I have to be careful here because I'm sure there's plenty of people that agree with the simple game concept. And through Seabold, we can plainly see that when the opposite goes wrong. However, the game is as simple as you make it. If you want your game plan to be run hard, tackle hard, kick to the corners, then good for you. However, in my mind, that's a cop-out. This isn't a go at Fitzy, and it's highly likely that his comments just go into the bag of cliched answers at a press conference. However, I'd certainly like to see our team play smarter. For a simple game, we do a lot of dumb stuff. There's no shortage of complaints over our bench rotation or our inability to cross the stripe from inside the 20. I'd hope that our team can evolve into something more than attributing wins to the team who puts in the most effort, because it's hard to sustain that effort ball week on week. And you're going to come up against a bigger, faster pack at some stage. I'd like to think There's a plan somewhere to elevate our team from a simple mindset to a team that's in front of the rules, that understands the opposition's strengths and weaknesses and how to innovate. Heck, these guys get paid a lot of money to do what they do. We should be able to expect them to take on something a little more complex than honing basic skill sets learnt from junior footy and putting those skills into a bigger body. They should be expected to sit down and do their homework, study the game, the opposition, the loopholes, and not sit back and spend their afternoons on Xbox. It's a byproduct of how small the game is, but really, if you want an opportunity, you should be expected to put in and not whinge about it. Treat it as a simple game, and all you'll get are simple actions.
So I took that at halftime, and I was, oh, goodness me, it's absolutely correct. Let's give us a reaction to that. I was going to call you a simple person, but I thought that would just be mean.
Righto, mate.
Sorry,
on that
mate.
note, I'm just off to jump to a rival podcast.
Yeah, right, okay. Yep.
Look, mate, I was actually going to ask the question in our team list and in our predictions for the week. Is Fitzy an adaptive coach, or is he a stick to the process coach? At the moment, it looks like he just sticks to his processes until it goes wrong for so many weeks that he might change something little. You see coaches adaptively coach to certain teams they're playing each week and train strategy from week to week. And I think that's the way we have to be moving forward. We need to find out these teams' weaknesses. We need to expose them from week to week and not just stick to the processes that we've been training for from, the start of our season.
I think a build on that might be a question to ask, is when was the last time the Sharks executed a strategy where they really did this well, or they went after this player, or they did this, or they isolated this man, or they did this? Matty, have you got some examples of where we've done that?
One occasion where we've set up a game plan and executed borderline to perfection, I suppose, in that regard would be the game without Hines and Trindle against Melbourne in Melbourne last year. But that was very specific, and the Franko talks about a simple game. It was a simple game plan. I suppose you talk about the hybrid half setup. They set that up, but it was forward dominant where our forwards had to stand up. We had a big forward four pack, or four forwards on the bench, and a pretty good, almost full strength, obviously without AFB at that point because we hadn't signed him, pack that took it to Melbourne. And we were lucky too with obviously the sin bin to Munster, which was a bit of a joke of a sin bin, and a few other things go our way in that game. But that was one occasion where it really stood out. It's like, wow, okay, Fitzy and co put something together last minute and got it sorted. I suppose previously back in 2022, there was a few occasions, some big wins there, some shock wins where Fitzy, I suppose, won over his coach or over his opposite number, but not too many. So it's a great take by Franko. It kind of reminds me, I'm in the aviation industry, which is a bit different, but you would have all heard of Chesley Sullenberger, the guy that landed the plane on the Hudson, reading his book. And this is a bit of a take with regards to changing plans or being dynamic and not being too rigid. He talks about goal sacrificing. At that point in time, for example, this is very, very different to playing a game of rugby league. But he lost two engines and he goes, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to land at an airport. That's the conventional ways. I've got to try and land at an airport. I can't. Okay, we're all dead if I don't find something and pluck it out of my bottom. That's dire and diabolical. But he got that, I suppose, take from lots of accidents he investigated in the military where pilots didn't eject or didn't take the bold action that needed to be done at that point in time. They kept trying to push a bad situation. And I suppose the analogy I've got here with Fitzy is he regularly tries to push that bad situation. Everyone else can see that Oregon's blowing and you got to sub him off, or everyone else can see that Dan Atkinson isn't the guy. I mean, we're not first grade coaches, but you can see that, for example, Matt Moylan was just not at defensive first grade standard for majority of 2023, and yet Fitz persisted with it. And yes, it's not life or death, but when you're a rugby league team and you need to get results, he does push it too long. Obviously, you don't want to be chopping and changing every 2 seconds, but we need that happy medium, and I don't think we're getting it in this season's showing that. Maybe too, another take I did here, and this is from Joel Kane on SEN, was talking about how you look at a season in blocks. He knows they've been through a lot, and he was talking about Fitzy talking in the press conference saying that he wasn't too disappointed with the first half because they were just looking at the process rather than the outcome. So I did like that. A lot of people were were flaming Fitzy for that, going, how can you be happy with that? Yeah, he wasn't happy with the soft defense, but there was a few parts that first half he was happy with. I can see they're looking at the bigger picture here. You nailed it, Boldo, with saying that he's got to get to the end of the season with everyone fit and firing. And I think it is difficult that we've had so many injuries, but still it is frustrating when you can see that a change needs to be made or a system or a setup isn't working and he's still pressing with it. So anyway, that's my take on that, I think, adding to Franko.
Chris, you got one final view on that? You obviously didn't read the private comment where I said, Chris, you go next, and then we'll wrap it up.
No, I was just waiting to see what it was. So my camera didn't go off. I think you just nailed it just there. It's where, like, I think he's trotting out the cliches because we've harped on it about it enough where our schedule was really rough at the start. We're kind of treading water. We're getting through that origin phase and we're sort of expecting wins where we should be winning 100%. But when he says going back to simple game, it's when that fatigue sets in and they fall back onto not falling into bad habits, trying to fall into that robotic state where let's just go through the process, the 4 hit-ups and the kick and go from there. Williams probably nailed it more with the injuries factors because, now they're saying the NBA, the season's too long because players are just getting massaged through the season and it's the fittest team survives at the end. Is the only teams that go through to the finals these days because that's how it is. And I don't want to get to a situation where we're in round 24 and Iro's injured, Stone Street's out, Ramian's out, another centre's gone down. We haven't got a fullback replacement. We're missing another forward. I like having the injuries now and playing a bit short-handed. So I'm still feel like we're stuck in a time warp again. But yeah, let's just see how we go at the end of the season because I'd like to ask. We'll go back on predictions later, but Boldo, from watching the Dargans on the weekend, you had them in the top 8. You thought Flano would have them firing. And they're gone.
I had the Tigers. I thought I had the Tigers in the top 8 and said the Dragons would come good eventually.
Yeah, trust in Flano and going to get him going, and Gutherson and Val Holmes, and they were awful.
I said eventually. We'll have to go back and check that. I'm sure. Well, I definitely picked Tigers.
Yeah, they were a second-rate team in that second half. Like we exposed them. So I feel like when we came out of the dressing sheds, we sort of went into that, where the weaknesses are. We attacked Lawson on the wing. We attacked Tyrell Sloan in the air. We went through the middle quite easily. So I feel like we adjusted better that second half, but God, I wish we did it for 80 minutes because we should have put 50 on that team.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Sharks news with Lats. Let's get that going. Oh, I've stuffed that up this week. I didn't do the transition. I should have gone that way, then that way. All right, this is the 2.0. I didn't quite get the transition. I was good on the transition last week. And I'll just try it again. Hold on. How do you do that? So you go.
While you're doing that transition, Boldo, I'll give you the answer as to how many games Riddell has played centre for us. 2.
Oh, here we go.
First 2 games of 2022. He played. He was named in jersey number 4.
Named,
and he
but
hasn't
didn't
played
play.
since. He played centre against Canberra, so that was definitely in the centres. And then in the round 2 match against the Eels, he was wearing jersey 4, but he pushed to the wing, and Tracy came into the centres.
All right, get your tips in the comments, gang. Harley's got his tip in. He's reckoned 32-14 for the Sharks.
Or 20-16.
Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to put in 2 tips, but
Yeah.
apparently you are. Okay.
He won last year, so he can.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, and then commentators cursed Boldo there, didn't I? Yeah, you did 2.0. Definitely did. All right, here we are with everything you need to know, Sharks media-wise and Sharks news-wise. When the man is in the know, Scott Latino, what do we need to know about the Sharks right now?
Alrighty, a few of these things have already been mentioned tonight, but the club posted their pilot medical update to their social accounts yesterday where the unfortunate news was confirmed that we look to be without our star centre, Kaya Liro, for close to, if not the remainder of the regular season, as he recovers from that surgery for the pectoral injury he suffered against the Warriors a fortnight ago. Kale was in red-hot form and the fans are concerned our attack will really take a hit in his absence. However, in today's team list drop, none other than the great CSF Talakai was named at centre. Given that calf injury to Hiroti in the Dragons game, he looks to be locked into that position for a while. Fans are also annoyed with the selection of Hiroti in that Dragons game, given he was already busted and now as a result of playing him underdone, he's sidelined for an extended period. Speaking of team list reactions, it's been another heated afternoon across the socials, given Fitzgibbon once again naming Daniel Atkinson on the bench for this week's clash against the Broncos. Given that our game is on Sunday, the Broncos' origin stars will more than likely back up and play. They want Atkinson dropped and Fitzy to take another forward-heavy bench into the game. We have Billy Byrne sitting there, we know can do a job, and the majority are actually calling for Hohepapuru to make his Sharks first grade debut and think he's a much better option than playing Atco for a short stint in the lock position. It's sounding a bit like a broken record, gents. Don't be surprised, though, to see Atkinson dropped off the bench late for one of those players. Our Jersey Flegg team went absolutely beast mode in the second half over the weekend, downing the Kevati Silktails 46 points to 10. The boys went into the half in 10-6 and came out and blowing the Silktails off the park, outscoring them 8 tries to 2 in the second half. And Riley Pollard, pretty handy with a boot, slotting 7 of 8 conversions. The boys now sit second on the ladder, just 24 differential points behind the Raiders, going to play the third place Storm at Seabrook Reserve, Broadmeadows at 2 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, the Silktails aren't that crash hot, but
No.
with Newtown Jets having a bye, Pollard and Taj Ford went down and played in Flegg, and look at the results. Just too good for that grade.
Definitely. With only a couple of weeks out from the NRLW season kickoff, Sharks have bolstered their forward pack with the signing of powerful Indigenous All-Star prop Tamaya Kelly Signs, which Harley mentioned earlier on. Tamaya has tallied 16 first-grade appearances in the NRLW with Parramatta and Canberra, and is apparently training the absolute house down in the Shire. Coach Tony Herman stated that Tamaya adds important depth and power to our stocks in the middle. And welcome to the team, Tamaya. We look forward to seeing you rip in this season. I think you've got something for us, Boldo, also.
I do. Well, we didn't quite sneak this one in time, but the Sharks have been crowned. The Cronulla Sharks have secured the New South Wales Plate Wheelchair Premiership. So with a 30-12 victory over the Bulldogs in Sunday's grand final out there at Menai Indoor Sports. And I've actually met some of the team from the Sharks wheelchair team. You're an absolute bunch of legends. Now, what you don't know, and you might not know for those that know, so the Sharks have actually fallen short in 4 straight deciders. And so they finally got the job done in their 5th win. So good to see that the curse of the Sharks just works in all formats.
Well, it's been broken.
It's been broken. The streak is over.
In a good way.
Oh, goodness me. All right, let's move on to the next. The Sharks head to Brisbane to play a Brisbane Broncos team with a limited showing, I reckon, in the State of Origin team this week. Risa Horrant Run has seen them lose, 6 and 7 matches a couple of weeks ago. But that all looks to be in the rearview mirror after a strong performance against the Frisky Titans team, who dealt with Manly there last night. So they're going to have confidence with Reece Walsh and Ezra Mann and all these sort of guys. Certainly not going to be an easy assignment for the Cronulla Sharks. Matty, what's the form guide coming in for this one? What does history tell us?
Well, we know that the form against the Broncos isn't fantastic. The form at Suncorp isn't fantastic, but looking at it, it's not horrific either. So we've played 63 matches, 64th match coming up between the two sides, having the Broncos come into the comp in 1988. Broncos have won 40, we've won 23. And there's been a few finals in there too. Quick pluck. Anyone know how many finals matches we played against the Broncos, Super League included?
So at least 4.
More?
6.
Are you counting the 1989? So that counts. 1989, 1996.
Nails it. Let's nail it.
How many lads
Actually, 6. Actually, that doesn't include the playoff in 1989. So technically 7. Technically 7 there, and it's 3 wins each. With the last finals match being a win to us in Friday night, week 1 of the finals in 2001, 22 points to 6. Paul Moore hat trick there, but that was at Shark Park. So obviously we've had some good wins at Suncorp back in the day. One that stands out was the 2004 one with Andrew Lomu going beast mode. Another one being the 2012 streak or drought breaker there with Nathan Gardner with that intercept. I was living up there at the time, and I may have left Boldo a drunken voicemail at some stage. That was a very
one of the great voicemails. That one. I was going to go to that match. I had a work thing on.
Yeah,
you know what I normally say about missing stuff?
Excuses.
Normally I say you always forget the work things that you had on, but I remember this work thing, and it was important that I went to that. So sadly, but I remember being at this party and then seeing that intercept try going on. And I was like, oh, yeah, that would have been pretty good.
That was Wade Graham murdered Josh Hoffman in the in-goal too back when shoulder charges were legal, but that was deemed to be high. That would have put us, I think, 20-0 up early, and then Classics true Sharks style. It was during Origin period too. We almost gave up, got back to 16-10, and then we kicked away with that late intercept to Nathan Gardner. Thoughts and love to him and his family, and a late try to seal it from Colin Best as well. Some other good wins, obviously the 2014 one, 2013, a field goal from Todd Carney getting us over the line. Thereafter was 0-0 at halftime. I was at that one, and that was just a bizarre game. It finished 19-18, but it was 0-0 after 40 minutes. And a few other good wins too. That one in 2020 with Talakai scoring the game sealer try after we were down by 8, and that kind of consigned the Broncos to the wooden spoon. That was a good one as well. And what was his name? Jackson Hastings scoring a try in his one and only first grade game before he did his ACL. So some good records or some good memories there, but obviously plenty of horror ones too, including 2011 game up there where, Boldo, you'll remember I got told by security to quieten down after I may have had spent a day drinking with yourself and plenty of other infamous members of the CWC and the like at Caxton Street. And
of course, Matty, the game where the dry elbows incident, and of course the game where Damien Irvine tried to convince us that the best thing to come out of that was Wade Graham playing opposite Darren Lockyer, and he'll learn from that, Baldo.
Exactly. We'll always remember that. And a shout out to our interview with Damien Irvine. We did mention that to him, and he did find that quite humorous. But our record at Suncorp, the new version of Suncorp, and this is not talking about the older ANZ stadium we played against the Broncos up there, or even the old Suncorp that we did play a few matches at. So we've played 26 games. We've won 10. We've lost 16. We have a reasonable record there of late. I'm not talking about any streaks or anything, but we have won the last 3 encounters, one against the Eels, one against the Broncos, one against the Roosters. And we last lost there to the Dolphins of all team in Magic Round 2 years ago.
We've won 3 against the Broncos since 2017, Matty. We are rubbish against them.
There, yes.
Just in general.
In general, yeah, not great. Points tally to is Broncos 1,364 to our 1,075. And you are correct in that the last few years we won last start up there. Braden Trindle having a ripper of a game. We won in 2021 and we won in 2020. But yes, they've got the wood on us. And it would need a big performance. I suppose a quick tip from me is I'm not sold on this team. I think there's still I think that they may well get it sorted at the back end of the year, and we might shore up a position between 5th and 8th. But if they don't win this weekend, I think top 4 is going to look very difficult, and I think the Broncos will be up for it. And I think if we don't start well, we'll lose by 8.
All right, the Sharks have named their team, and I've just realised that I've not done a layout for the Sharks team. So, Franko, what do you make of the of this match? Whilst I edit up the look and feel of this layout. Hold on.
Whilst you're doing that, Boulder, I'll share at 2.0. Yes, indeed, 2014. We did that as a Chronicles episode last year, so it was 22-0 at the break. And we came back and won 16-0, and it was 22-0 in the second half, and we won 24-22 with trivia for who scored the try that got us back to even scores before Gordon kicked the goal. Who was that, people?
That was... He's still running around in State Cup.
Where's the comment?
I want to say Gagai, but it's not Gagai. It's Gagan. There we go.
Gagan. Jacob Gagan got our first points in 4 weeks or whatever it was, of some diabolical thing. We'd lost 3 games to 0, and Gagan broke the out duck scoring a try. But it was actually someone else that scored the try that tied things up late on.
Put us out of our misery.
Yeah, pretty certain it was Sasai Feki after a dropped bomb. Bomb went up, and then he managed to get there. And it was, the try score.
Kennedy dropped that one?
No, Kennedy wasn't even playing for us. But no, a bomb went up, and I think the Broncos let it bounce, so it was dropped. So the tries were Gagan got there first, then Gallen buried over, and then Todd Carney with some individual brilliance in his final match for the club, funnily enough. Lats and I did this one. And then Fecky scored the try from the bomb, and Gordon kicked it from, it was about midway between the sideline and the post. So it wasn't a gimme, but that gave us an unbelievable win. And then we did it again against Kelly's Roosters the following week.
All right, the Sharks have named their team to take on the Brisbane Broncos in round 16 up there at Suncorp, kicking off at Sunday. It's 2 p.m. I think it's 2 p.m., isn't it, fellas?
It is.
Yep.
There you go, 2 p.m. The team list without music. William Kennedy at fullback. The fullbacks are the first choice fullbacks with Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulatalo. Centers are Jesse Ramian and the returning starting center, Siusefa Talakai. Halves Trindle and Hines unchanged. The forward pack is also unchanged with Fanua, Blake, Brayley, Kafusi, Nickera, Wilson, and captain Cam McInnes. And the bench is Daniel Atkinson, Jesse Calhoun, Toby Rudolph, Braden Hamney, and Ellie. And the coaches, Craig Fitzgibbon. Franco, your take on that picked team?
Well, I mean, going up to Suncorp, playing against the Broncos in Suncorp, I kind of agree it's not the right time to debut someone. I don't think we really had a lot of options there either. So putting Talakai in the centres was a no-brainer. That said, it is worth mentioning that he has had a bit of trouble going up against Stags the last couple of times that matchup has occurred. So that worries me a little bit, but ultimately I think it's better than the alternative. The Atkinson thing, look, Tapua's out injured, so he's not coming in. So we're a bit light on in terms of big boppers on the bench. But as Lats highlighted in his socials, there's Billy Burns and Hohepa Peru available, which I'd happily take either of them over Atkinson. Look, Burns has been a knockout player for us when he's played, but that's in a starting role. I'm not quite sure how he would fit in off the bench. So I think Hohepa probably brings a bit more of utility for us, a little bit more with the ball. So I'd probably put Hohepa in and get that good luck story of a debut match. That'd be the change I'd make. But ultimately, look, it's as expected. I don't think we were counting on anything else other than what was named here. It's just Broncos in Suncorp scares me, gives me the yips.
Lats, you mentioned the fan conjecture around the selections. Give us your conjecture. Are you on board with Talakai in the centres?
Yeah, mate, definitely on board with Talakai in the centres. I think he's our next best option. Look, I get the inclusion of Daniel Atkinson this week, given Talakai's promotion into that starting side. If we do lose an outside back, he's probably our most obvious backup. I hate playing the Broncos this time of year, whether it be with or without their origin stars. The baby Broncos always tend to give us a hiding. I recall one certain game down at Shark Park in 2019 when a young debut from Xavier Coates, we piled on. I think he got a try in that game and had a blinder. They've got Walsh out with a point to prove missing origin. You got Mam, who won't play but was in the side in the training origin squad. They've got Haas is going to be backed up and fired up. Look, mate, I don't know. I'm concerned about this one. I can see us losing this one.
Geez, they're not confident, are they? All right, Chris, let's go through this Broncos team. Take us through them.
Obviously, got Reece Walsh there at fullback that Lats mentioned there. Caparani on the wing with Jesse Arthurs, Katoni Staggs in the centres, and Big Shibazaki, who's a bit of a worry as well in the centres. Adam Reynolds and Ezra Mann fill out the halves with Corey Jensen, Corey Pakes, Payne Haas up the front. Pura, Ricky, and Carrigan finish out the second row with Billy Walters, Hetherington, Willison, and Jack Goski's back with Coach Michael Maguire.
Love Jack Goski.
You love Jack Goski. He's one of your favourites to pronounce. I'm going to hold my breath on who backs up because it is coming from Perth. We know Haas has been under a bit of a quad strain going into Origin 1. It's a bit of a big ask to play Wednesday fly back to Brisbane, recover, go over again. So I'm just going to hold my breath on players like Carrigan, Haas, and that's about it. And the team backing up. So if they're out, we might have a bit of a plus there. But yeah, like Franko said, I get the yips playing the Broncos. They've obviously been under the pump. They lost the last 5 out of 6 before last week and absolutely torched the Titans. Turned up with the return of Reece Walsh and Ezra Mann's now a couple of weeks back into it. It could be anything. So I'm going to hold my breath on the prediction of points, but I think it's going to be a Broncos victory, unfortunately.
It's a pretty good Broncos team. Reece Walsh, gun, Stags, origin level centre. Their halves are better than ours. You'd have to say their forward pack, Carrigan and Haas, are obviously elite level forwards.
Been a go on Sunday. I was watching between Mullumbimby Giants and Mooloolaba Colts, and I was also watching the Q Cup, which had Winner Manly in there, and Selwyn Cobbo was playing reserve grade, so he was playing in the Q Cup, and God, he does not look fit at all. He looks quite overweight, quite slow and sluggish, and should be playing reserve grade. So yeah, they got a bit of talent they can spread around still. But like I said, this team was in a hole for the last 6 or 8 weeks. Like, they were under the pump. They were talking about, Madge Maguire being the next coach fired. The team didn't like him. The locker room had been lost. Whether Reynolds was going to stick around, but now he's going to sign somehow a veteran's contract up there. So they're still sort of behind the 8 ball on us, but they're starting to find a bit of gear.
All right, Franko, we've got losing predictions from Lats and Chris.
If we all pick a loss, does it do the reverse and we win? Because I'm not confident. I'm leaning towards a loss as well. I kind of feel as though it's probably going to be echoing the Warriors game where it's a tight one, 10 minutes into the second half, and then we sort of fall off the wagon a bit and get a few put on us. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it'll be probably 13 plus.
Matthew?
I thought I'd inadvertently put my tip in before by saying if we don't get off to a good start, we'll lose by 8. But given everyone's been negative, I think that for the reasons, maybe this is counterintuitive. Am I going to ruin the 5? All 5 of us tipped against the Dragons, and we won, didn't we? So I don't know. I'm going to be hard overhead here and say that Sharks will win by 8. We'll go the other way. I think that if a few of them are a bit rusty after Origin and we play like we did in the second half, or play like we did against Melbourne, we might be up for it. The whole down, up, down, up, down, up. Anyway, if we're up for it, we'll be in with a shot. If we're not, we'll lose by 40.
I'll give us a little slither of hope where a month ago the Dargans were up there down 12-0 against the Broncos in a home game and come back. And you saw what the Dragons produced against the last couple of weeks. This rugby league season is absolutely a tipper's nightmare. I'm glad I'm not tipping this season. You saw what a full-strength Manly did against a lowly Titans team, and the Titans blew them off the park. Anything could happen. So if we turn up and give us our full game and the Broncos a little bit off, can't see why we won't win. But, yeah, I think the whips have been cracking on the Broncos for the last couple of weeks, and they'll be rested and ready to go.
Yeah.
Do we have the bench, though, to have impact with Talakai in the centres? That's what worries me is our bench. That's why I want that forward heavy bench.
You're right.
I'm just going to say this. Matthew, you've ruined it because I was looking forward to tipping the Sharks right now.
You asked me again. And I
know. I wanted to just get the 4 consecutive negative Nancy booing Sanders gives us no chance. This is why the Sharks are going to beat the Broncos. 1, the Sharks are always good when they're counted out. We've seen the odds here. Adam Fields got it in the comments for us. 148 versus the Sharks, $2.66. We have been calling out for weeks that they've got to get better value out of Sifa Talakai. He is now going to play a hell of a lot more minutes. We called it out already that when the Sharks have Toby Rudolph at full fitness, they are a hell of a lot better. We compared it to the Broncos team, and there's some whole equalities there, but I would say that our hooker, Blake Brayley, has been running from dummy half, and he is going to cut them to absolute shreds. Kennedy has been in form at the start of the season. He can't be hopeless every single week. and we've got the two-gun wingers, Ronaldo Mulatalo, and we've got Sione Katoa. I'm going Sharks 13 plus. Let's go, baby.
Last time you had a prediction like this was against the Roosters a few weeks ago. We all know how that ended.
We're going to win. We'll beat the Broncos. We'll beat them. I reckon we'll beat them. So anyway, that's just mine.
I'll be very happy if you're right, mate.
That is just
to score from a bomb right on halftime to get us back into it, and Sam Osmer get to score 2 tries in the second half.
It'll be Sam Eismonger all over again. That's what's going to happen. Wise Up TV is saying Sharks 13 plus. MDP World just saying go the Sharks, but has not given us a tip. Stuart Campbell saying, have you seen the in on the socials? It's the battle of two unenthusiastic teams. Whoever shows up on the day. Well, we're going to show up on the day because 2.0, we've got the reverse jinx going through that. All right. Anything else, boys, on the match preview before we move on to the next?
Surely they're sick of traveling to Queensland by now. Like, surely the team's like, really? We have to get on a plane to go to Queensland again and get out.
It's done so much traveling. I bet they've got all their freaking flyer points going. All right. Let's chat State of Origin. State of Origin chat. Well, that's brought to you by Miranda Hotel. They were going to sponsor the match preview, but then I decided they should sponsor the State of Origin preview. Why? Because they've got this new epic TV in the sports bar. They've got wings and $7 schooners. There's a chance to win a jersey tomorrow night down at Miranda Hotel if you go down there to watch the State of Origin. There's a new renovation in there. Get down there. Tell them Boldo sent you and the schooners will cost you more. Let's chat State of Origin. Look, I'm going to lead this one off, and we didn't really have a discussion point. Billy Slater came out in response to the Sharon Woods comments earlier last week, where Sharon Woods had a bit of a go at Billy Slater and called him a bit of a grub. Watching NRL 360 and Billy Slater's response, it was rather emotional. And I applaud Billy Slater for his response, and I thought it was spot on. I think he's right. I think sometimes these commentators can take things go too far. And it was an emotional NRL 360 as well. Chris, give us a response to what you thought of that whole fiasco.
In the fiasco stakes, I think it's done its job where Woodsy's walked straight into Queensland's plan and fired them up and galvanised that team where they can paste that on the wall. Billy Slater comes out quite emotional and the team rallies behind him and fires up in Perth. I found it quite interesting watching two of the biggest bullhead journalists on 360 who absolutely baked Madge Maguire, baked any other player, baked the Tigers for 3 years straight, and then including Benji Marshall, where Bulldog actually apologised about 3 or 4 weeks ago, say he can part-time coach. And now they're talking about the worries of mental health. So it got a bit murky there, and there was some careful words chosen in regards to it. But I think for those guys from watching that show for a long time and trying to tell myself that every night at 6:30, don't turn it on because it's absolute dribble. I found it a bit, I don't know, a bit hard to take because they're the guys that actually are running this sort of stuff. Same as Gordy. Gordy absolutely went after Woodsy on the weekend as well on the radio and said, well, he wasn't this tough when he was on the field. So it's gone a little bit sideways from what it should be because it's supposed to be promoted in Perth. And given that Boldo's Perth Bears are going over there, they want to have a bit more promotion in regards to rugby league. But it does ignite the fire for game 2, and we'll see what it does. Boldo's favourite player, Jerome Luai, has been included after Mitchell Moses went down with a calf injury. So surely that gives him some New South Wales hope. But hopefully we still get a win.
We've got a super chat here from MDP World. Which is a brilliant picture here. $10. MDP, you absolute legend. And man, if you want us to talk about anything or specific subject, get it in the comments and we will, as per the super chat convention, talk about what you want, or we can talk about that immediately. Wise Up TV saying New South Wales by 30 plus. And then Wise Up TV is also helping us out. 11 more likes to get to 20 people. Hit that like button, please. It does just help us, guys. Hit that like button. Come on. Franko, what do you make of the Origin?
Oh, look, as I said for Origin Game 1, Laurie Daly coaching, no Sharks players, not really invested this one, but Luai getting put back into the team, I'm happy to watch him run around. I think he's a pretty good player. I think that this is going to be a game where, historically we talk about shenanigans and, well, we're really going to want Queensland to win to go to this third game. Neutral venue in quotes, certainly going to be going for the Queensland team over there. I feel as though, you touched on Woodsy, and he did what is needed in terms of selling the game. I don't think it was anything more than that. I also feel that on the spectrum of taunts, calling someone a grub is kind of low end. That said, we know that Billy Slater is a very good orator. He thinks very well of what to say, measured, and came out and hit the right notes, which probably further galvanised the Queensland team. Munster at captain, look, he's a bit of a flighty one. I don't know if that's the right choice, but he's certainly going to push hard and take the game by the scruff of the neck. So, look, it's probably going to be a Queensland win, but it should be a better game than game one, which was quite boring.
Williams, you grub. Would you run it at Lenu? Would you kick the ball off at Lenu?
Me?
Yeah,
I'm
you
the
grub.
grubber.
Yeah, I don't know. I just figured I couldn't taunt Lats twice in a row, so I decided to pick you.
Of course,
I thought you're
Queensland
going at 2.0.
Of course,
well,
Queensland should.
well, we know
kick
he's a grub.
True that. Williams 2.0 is not a grub. Maybe I'm a grub.
We love you 2.0.
So should they? So Channel 9 script. Of course, they should kick to Lenu. So I've got a few comments about Origin here. I'm a big fan of spreading the gospel that is rugby league and sending it to Perth. This is the first time they've played a Wednesday night Origin game in Perth. The last two have been on a Sunday. Both times, I believe, it's bucketed down. The one in, when was that, 2019, when Wade Graham got 1,000 try assists when he came off the bench, and there was all the jokes about Nathan Cleary being worse in 6 Origins than a 10-minute stint from Wade Graham, which I still love, and we should dine out on that for the rest of all time if it wasn't for 4 premierships or whatever in there. But I think it's good to see this one sold out. The South Australian Adelaide game didn't sell out there, and there was a thing I heard on SEN today talking about the percentage of market share in the sporting environment that AFL and NRL have in each state. It was talking about how in Victoria and South Australia, they're actually not a sport environment of the entire population. So they said 33% of the South Australian population, I think is 35% of Victorians, are invested in AFL. We're only about 24%. I'm paraphrasing these numbers. About 10% less were invested in AFL in WA. So they tend to get good crowds over there. Each time that a game goes over and plays at the smaller ground, NIB, 20,000 capacity, it sells out. So I think the Bears will be a hit over there. And this is given the WA population a lot of expat miners, East Coast people that go over there for the mining business, living over there. So I think the Bears will go well, and it's good to see us spreading it over there and being truly national. So that's my thought there on the Perth experiment. And the Billy Slater grub comment, well, statements of fact, his shoulder charge should have been a penalty try in the 2018 prelim final. And Slater, was he going to be his final match the following week? They lost anyway, but should have been rubbed out of that. If you're talking rules are rules, shoulder charges were legal. He shoulder charged Fecky.
No, he should have been sin binned against us, and then he shouldn't have been suspended. What should happen?
Yeah, So we didn't even get a sin bin or a penalty try.
Yeah, we got nothing.
We got nothing. So that's the key issue here from a Sharks perspective.
Due to Billy's now have 2 rule changes of the game, which is the 7 tackle set from kicking down into the in-goal area. And we also have a retry for sliding in with the feet or the knees, which he was a opponent of. So
he did love doing that.
As we know, the
Matthew Ridge used to kick the ball out of people's hands when they were putting it over the try line. It was very
the karate kick in the air. The karate kick in the air when he went for the high ball.
The karate kick in the air, and Slater did connect a few boots with players' heads while they were sliding for tries. So
it's very dangerous. Lads, our buddies at Wars Up TV, leave on, you absolute legend. And if you're looking for a very, 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 very good and professional and proper rugby league podcast on YouTube, then look no further than our mates at Wars Up TV. He has called out that the 1.8 will be massive in this game. So if you don't know what that means, maybe, Lats, you can explain that. Tell us if you think it's going to be a close match.
Alrighty, the 1.8 is a percentage of Bouldermans of it's a percentage player Bouldermans that you should take the 2 every time as you How did it go, Boldo? 1.8. What were the
90%
stats
of the
around
time
this?
you kick the goal. 90% of the time you kick the goal. So therefore, the penalty is worth 1.8 points.
Mate, you
Therefore, it'll
sound
be
like
close.
Brian
like to see your
Fantana off
homework on this
Anchorman,
one,
but Sex
Boldo.
Panther. 60% of the time it works every time. Mate,
Doesn't even make sense.
I'm a bit worried. Look, I'm more worried that I might not get to see some of this game. It is my wedding anniversary tomorrow, 15 years, 25 years together. I asked Casey out at a football match, so it's only fitting that I take her somewhere to watch the football tomorrow night. It was actually a Sharks-Dragons match I asked her out at, and we pumped them because I probably wouldn't have asked otherwise. And it happened again this week, so celebrate tomorrow watching the Origin, hopefully. But I think New South Wales will get the win. Luai's there. He should have been there for game one.
Didn't you?
The biggest whinger, Moses, is not in Origin. This is the greatest thing ever. And Billy Slater is the biggest grub in the NRL of all time.
That's right. It was the 40 points to 10 win in 2000, wasn't it? When Matt Rogers got his nose rearranged by Jamie Ainscough. There you go.
Let's just say I took the 2 and I got the 1.8.
Oh, there we go. How good. All right. If you want to get your tips in on the State of Origin, that'll be good fun. We'll have to watch along with the guys from Mars Up TV. So, and leave on. They're not over the 1.8. They're just over me, mate.
Yep.
All right. Let's get into it. Speaking of grubs, indeed. All right, let's do the trivia challenge. So last week I hosted trivia down at Sharks at Karilla. We had a group of Sharks fans down there, a very knowledgeable group too that had a lot of fun with us down there. So we decided that we would rehash some of those questions and put the trivia to the test. But we're going to do it in a different way. It is going to be all of you in the comments. So no cheating, gang. No cheating in the comments. So it's Franko, Lats, and Kelly, and everyone else head to head.
Showing that I'm not cheating. I don't have.
Oh, yeah,
comments.
fair enough. Head to head.
I can't
head
see
to
my
head
brother's screen.
with Matty Williams. Now, Matty is going to write his answer down first,
On my way.
and then you guys are going to think about the thing and discuss what you think the answer is. And then if anyone's fast enough to get in the comments, then you can go and give your answer. Now, do you guys want to nominate a team captain?
Lats.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
They can't even. All right. Let's give this advantage to Williams. Williams, who do you think should be the captain of their team?
So we had a vote for Kelly. Sorry, a vote for Lats and a vote for Franko. So therefore, my vote is Kelly.
All right, Kelly is the captain. All right, so Kelly's answers
guy with
are
the
final.
worst internet.
Sorry, mate.
All right, Kelly's answers are final. So we'll give Matty a couple of seconds to write down the answer before you guys start talking. There are, what have I got? 10 questions. And then I've got a tiebreak question.
We won't be needing it.
Should it be tied, I guess, in the
Shall
event
we
of
see?
that. All right, question. All right, no, Richard Villasanti is not the answer to any of the questions. All right, question number 1. Which player that wasn't Cam McInnes captained the Sharks in 2024? And reminder, the answer is not what the actual answer is. It's what Boldo thinks the answer is. And this one is according to Rugby League Project. Which player that wasn't Cam McInnes captained the Sharks in 2024? All right, Matty's done his answer. Talk about it, boys. What have you got? No, don't write your answer, Matty. They're going to talk about
I think it might be Teague Wilton, Kelly. What do you reckon?
All right.
There's a freebie. There's a freebie.
They're locking in team. 1-1.
Well, so we're doing honesty basis here. So they're going to talk about it.
They're going to talk about it, and you've already written
You're
it
going to
down.
make sure that I don't rub it out. And
You can put
change
your
my
hands on your head
mind.
after you've written it.
Okay.
You can put your hands on your head before we can talk about it.
Read the notes.
It's true Cronulla style in that I've scored a ripper of an opening try, like on the weekend, and then just completely pooed the bed.
Oh, my God. There was no
at
way
the other
those
end.
guys were getting Teague Wilton.
Fitzy's just given the Broncos our playbook.
Yeah.
Oh, you are absolutely.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure CK was halfway through saying Teague Wilton before realizing that he had to stop. And the Williams that wrote down Teague Wilton off the back of that. So
I'm sure that's what happened. All right, it's 1-1. Question 2. How many players in the season 2024 successfully kicked a goal?
How many players?
How many players in first grade kicked a goal?
All of them. We made it to week 2 of the finals.
Matty, have you written your answer down? But don't show it.
Yes.
All right.
What do we got? We got
My pen stopped working. There we are.
We got
They got
Waz Up
sprays for
TV
that.
saying 5, 2.0 saying 3.
Hines. We've got Trindle. We've
Trindle.
got Atkinson. Is Talakai in there for a sneaky goal?
The question was, how many players successfully kicked a goal for the Sharks in season 2024?
What are we saying? I'm saying 3.
3, maybe there's a sneaky 4.
3. Yeah, I'm thinking a sneaky 4, but
All
I
right,
don't
we'll
know.
go 4.
Final answer?
4.
4.
All
I
right,
said 4
Matty,
as
what have you
well.
got?
I said 4
The
as well.
answer is the following players kicked goals: Daniel Atkinson, Nico Hines, Braden Trindle, Marween Hilrotti, and Nua Peru. There was 5.
Whoa.
All right, 1-1.
Should have listened
All right.
to Waz Up.
Should have listened to Waz Up. There it is. Waz Up gave us the answer.
Hang on.
Where
Yeah.
did Nephi
Was that in the
play
trials? Was that in the
Yeah.
trials?
Well,
That'd
that's
be
what I
trials.
think the
Count.
answer is.
Nephi Peru has not played first grade for Cronulla
Has not played
outside
No,
of the trials. Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
shenanigans.
answer is 4. We both got it right or wrong, but anyway, we're still at 1-1.
2-all. 2-all.
Let's just remember what the answer is. The answer is not what the answer is. It's what Boldo thinks the answer is.
Well, he hasn't
All
played.
right. Question number.
Clearly, Todd Carney kicked a goal for us last year as well.
According
According to AI.
Question,
Yeah.
true. Question number 3. Well, I did say how many players successfully kicked a goal for the Sharks in season 2024, so I guess that counts. All right. What was the highest attendance at Shark Park in
Preseason.
2024?
Question again?
What was the highest attendance number at Shark Park in 2024? And we need the exact number.
12, 5, 2,
12,
3.
8, 40, 12, 8, 41.
What was the highest attendance at Shark Park in 2024?
Just
Matty's
fire off
putting
a
in his
number,
answer.
TK.
I reckon Franko can get this.
12, 3, 45.
Oh, we're all over the shop. So with the
All right,
12,
Chris,
8,
what's your final
41.
answer?
12, 5, 3, 6.
Look at Waz Up. He hasn't done us wrong yet.
All right, what are you going, Chris? Final answer?
12, 5, 3, 6.
12, 5, 3, 6. Matty, what have you got?
I thought we had one game in there where we fit like something like 14,000 in. Everyone was like, how the hell they do that? And then it didn't happen again. 14,572.
All right, the correct answer, both of you are wrong. The correct answer is 13,500. And you're right. They had an exactly on the number, on the money number, which was their capacity. So they didn't go over the capacity.
Yeah, I thought there was one in there was a bit higher. But
Yeah, so you were close.
Wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're still at 1-1, or arguably 2-2. Spell Jesse Colhoun's last name.
Ooh.
Oh, I can do this.
Go, lads. Go.
All right, now
All right,
wait,
you've got to
wait.
let
wait for-
Williams go first.
Oh, yeah, let Williams go first.
Spell Colhoun's last name.
My admin lady does it.
The admin lady does do it.
She can spell it for us.
Here we are.
All right, Matty's got his answer. Boys,
Go, lads is
No,
fine.
lads.
COLQUON.
No.
bum
No. We haven't locked that in yet. We haven't locked
No.
that
No,
in.
we're just discussing it.
Oh, no, you're gone. I'm not giving you that one. You said Latin spelling it. And then the answer is there from Waz Up TV. Gave you the answer again, lads.
Oh,
COLQUHOUN.
O-U-N.
Williams has also got it wrong.
O-N. Anyway. There you
All
go.
right, it's still 1-1. God. All right,
Should be like a
Tiebreak.
spelling bee. Definition, please.
we might need this tie break. All right, question number 5. How many matches has Toby Rudolph started this season?
Started.
Started.
Started this season.
1, Or is it 2?
How many matches has Toby Rudolph started this season?
Franko higher than 1 or 2?
Nah, not higher then.
Matty, you got your answer. Matty's answer's in.
1, Franko? 1?
Yeah. I don't think it's 2. I don't think it's 2. I reckon it's none.
I was going to say, is it none? Because he had that shoulder going in, and he's only just come back from that.
Did he?
But are we talking about trials or?
Did he?
No trials. No trials.
Did he start a game when Hazleton did his shoulder? Did he come off and start that one? No, I'm going with 0. I don't think he started a game.
Oh, it's 1 or 0. It's 1 or 0. Go 0. Go with Franko.
Final answer.
Duck egg.
Donuts.
Matty, what do you got?
Duck egg.
The correct answer is 0.
2 all.
All right.
Or 3 all.
2 all.
Like
Or 3 all.
Like
Next
a county
question.
shootout.
Who's the second oldest player in the 2025 squad?
Second oldest.
The second oldest player
In this squad?
in this squad.
Second oldest.
Oh, that's tough. I'm saying Cam's the oldest.
I think.
Williams has got to write his
Let's let
answer
Williams
down.
write
Well,
it
he's
down
got
first.
just let Williams write it.
Okay.
I can confirm, Adam, it's not going to be Nico.
All right, add
It's
1.
not-
We're changing.
And it's not Sam Stone Street. Who is the second oldest player in the 2025 squad? And if you're playing at home, let us know what your score is as well, because that could
All
be
right.
fun. All right, Matty's
Would
got
be
his
at-
answer in.
Oh,
AFB.
yeah, that's what I'm going. I'm going AFB.
Yeah, I like that.
Or
That's good.
Sione. How old's Sione?
No, he's not that old.
Oh, let's go AFB.
AFB, we'll lock it in, please, sir.
Final answer?
What's he? 28. AFB 29.
It'd be 29, 30.
Matty, what's your answer?
I went Jesse Ramian.
The correct answer is Braden Hamlin-Ueli, with Cam McInnes being the oldest player.
It would be.
Ooh.
Because Hammer Willow.
He does. He does have the oldest knees.
Yeah. All right, question number 7. Who did the Sharks play in the last match of the regular season in 2025 on the 6th of September, 7:35 p.m.?
Sorry, what was the question?
Who did the
Last-
Sharks play in the last match of the
Bueller.
regular season 2025?
Bulldogs.
Final answer?
Yeah,
Bulldogs.
That's the correct
Matty,
one.
what do you got?
Dogs.
Oh, there we go. They got it. Question number 8. What does that make it? 4 all?
Yep.
Question number 8. Who was the captain for the Sharks in week 1 of the 2008 finals against the Canberra Raiders? Who was the captain for the Sharks in the week 1 2008 finals match against the Canberra Raiders?
Surely it was Noddy. Surely.
Yeah, have to be naughty.
There we go. We finally had confirmation that SJD is 3 minutes behind. We've always wondered that.
Hit live. You reckon Noddy Franko, 2008?
Hold on. Let Williams write his answer down. Williams is in.
Greg Bird.
We know it's not Greg Bird.
Brett Seymour.
It's Brett Seymour either.
Missy
Uh,
Talcova.
He'd score.
Luke Gaville.
Who was the
It's gotta
captain
be
for the
Noddy.
Sharks
It's
in week 1
Gotta be naughty.
2008 finals match
Brett
against the
Carney.
Canberra Raiders?
No.
There was Nutley, Noddy, Gallen. They're probably your options.
Dougie and Nari. Fraser and Pommy.
Buster and see you.
Some terrible players.
I mean, Noddy was out the door. Ricky hated him. Did he, I can't remember, did he hold the captaincy until the end of that season?
Over to you guys.
I know the answer, and so does Matty.
Oh, is it a gallon?
Final answer.
Yeah, let's go Gal. Let's go Gal. Surely.
Matty, what do you got?
He was
What's the
captain-
correct answer, Matthew?
I've got the
Origin-
gal.
The answer is Gallon. Well done, lads. You got
Oh
there.
yes.
Gallon then
Yeah,
lost the
Franko knew
captaincy early
Franko
in
knew it.
2009 for the racial slur against Mickey Payer, and Trent Barrett took the captaincy after that.
I was just
Question
thinking
number 9.
Origin
Which
captain-
Cronulla? Question number 9. Which Cronulla Sharks Hall of Fame player has played the fewest games for the Sharks?
Oh, that is a trick question.
Yeah. Tommy Bishop? Oh, I don't know. Hang on, I've got the Hall of Famers here.
Let Williams write it down. Let Williams write it down.
Lads, you cheat. You're not allowed to turn around.
It hasn't
Look,
got
look at it doesn't have how many games.
Sure, it doesn't.
I'm just looking for
All
inspiration.
right, lads, read out the names. Who's in the Hall of Fame?
We've got Greg Pearce, Tommy Bishop. We've got Sludge, Gavin Miller, Andrew Eddinghausen, Kurt Sorensen. We've got, Dane Sorensen, David Peachy, Matt Rogers, Jason Stevens, Paul Gallen, and Noddy. Oh. Is it Sludge?
I'm thinking Greg Pearce.
Yeah, I'm thinking a long break.
Oh.
It wasn't that many years because it's not there a long time.
Yeah, Waz Up might be onto something. One of the Sorensens was there, but I think not the one that made the Hall of Fame.
No. Trying to think how many seasons Tommy Bishop played. Oh. Come on, Captain. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pearce. I reckon he was the lowest there. Surely.
Greg Pearce.
Final answer.
Pearce.
Yeah, Pearce. All right.
All right, Williams, what do you got?
Thomas Bishop.
The correct answer is Tommy Bishop, fellas.
Oh, I thought it was Tommy.
All right, last question. Williams is ahead by one.
Should I say that you guys got me back there for the Teague Wilton one? Because I was going to go Rat, actually, because I was like, quickly going through it. Yeah, Rat, and he played like less than his dad, I think. I'd have to check that.
He did.
And then as soon as but I hadn't gone back through it yet, and I'm like, I've got to get an answer down. And then as soon as you said Bishop, I was like, yeah, you're right, Bishop. Yeah, he played 2 or 3 seasons for us.
Yeah.
Go silent until he locks in his answer. We'll go silent.
Yeah.
All right. The last question. So, boys and audience, you need to get this correct. And
penalty shootout saved by Shaw.
And Matty needs to get this
the
wrong.
World Cup.
What year did Bo Ryan debut for the Sharks?
Gosh, pen stopped working, but I am in.
That's what I heard.
Actually, no, we're going to run with the last question because I've got an idea on the last question. God, this is a great last question. All right. Yep.
All right. Let's go through the Bo Ryan era. So, Sada
What year did Bo Ryan debut for the Sharks?
wasn't 10.
The Footy Show had an amazing compilation of intro songs that season, which included Sonny Bill Williams returning to the Roosters. Oh, Sonny Billy, in it for the money, and the Bo Ryan
Again, Franko.
the Bo Ryan song as well was excellent. So what year did they won the Roosters won the premiership when he came back? So
13, mate. So it's either 12.
2013. Going with 13, CK?
Final answer?
Well, that's the year the Roosters won, but it's either 12 or 13 that Bo Ryan kept the Sharks.
I'm going with 13.
Yeah, I'm feeling 13.
Okay. Lucky
Good
13.
call, fellas. 2013.
2013 is correct.
And that's the answer.
All right. Now we're going to do the last question. Now this is a different question. All right. The question is,
Carl McNichol.
I was going to ask you who's Shark 402, but that's not the question. Question number 11. Now, Matthew, you have to answer whether or not the boys will get this question right or not. And if you get that wrong, you lose a point. Right?
And then it finishes a draw.
Right now, boys, if you get this right, you also get a point. But if you get it wrong, you lose a point. Currently, you're behind with 1. So I'm not sure how this is going to happen. So, Matty, the question is, How many sponsors has Shark Park had? And name all of them. Will they get that question correct? And can the people in the comments help them? Will they get it correct?
I think. Well, I know that I gave this.
No, you got to write it down. You got to write it down.
But yeah,
so they don't know.
I'm going to have faith in.
No. You got to write it down. Don't tell us what your answer is.
Okay.
Don't reveal. Do you think they will get it right? Yes or no? Name and how many sponsors has Shark Park had?
So if he guesses that if he incorrectly guesses our result, we both lose a point.
Correct.
And if he guesses correctly that we get it correct, we both get a point.
We need to get it right to win, pretty much.
But I don't see how that we win. But okay.
Now he didn't say. He said sponsored, not names. So it's sponsored.
Now, sponsored and name. Naming rights sponsors.
Yeah, naming rights sponsors. So no what
Sponsors.
So at this current state, there's nothing. So that's not one of them.
Yeah, Shark Park, Endeavour Field,
They're
Caltex
out.
Shark
Field.
Stadium. We're saying none of that counts, right?
Well, Caltex is a sponsor.
Shark Stadium doesn't count.
Caltex.
All right. Good. Caltex. Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Woo.
Oh, Williams
Yeah, it
2.0.
doesn't work for me.
How do I get my thumb up thing? That was cool.
Gotta
Caltex
be on.
points bet.
Yeah.
Was Ronson a sponsor? Or was Ronson
Yes,
just
they were.
That's 4.
Yeah.
The
I don't
Chesney.
think Cruz can see the comments.
Ashley
unless I bring
Madison
them up.
Stadium. No, that wasn't one.
I'm seeing the comments tick over. What now? 65 unread comments on my side. So good on you guys for getting there.
All right,
Hisense, was
CK.
that?
Williams 2.0
That wasn't a
has come
stadium
through.
sponsor, was it?
What, who?
Williams
Hisense.
2.0 in the comments
Oh,
has
they were
come through
dirty
and said that.
Yeah. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
5.
Toyota Park and Toyota Stadium. That's
Don't
a
count.
Toyota. Does that count as one? It's a sponsored stadium, Toyota.
Yeah, Toyota is just one.
Okay.
I don't think it was ever Toyota Stadium, was it?
It was.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
wait.
was.
When we got the end stand, it became a stadium rather than a park.
So count out Williams, one of them Toyotas, and that's what it is.
I can confirm that Wires Up TV, Ericsson was never a
Ericsson.
sponsor of Shark Park.
All right, so what have we got? We got Caltex, Toyota, PointsBet, Southern Cross Group.
Was Southern
what
Cross
else
Group
was there?
a
Did I say
stadium?
Ramondas?
No. Southern Cross Group, I don't think was a stadium. I think they were a jersey.
I think it was for a short time, wasn't it? For a very short time.
Was.
Okay.
Until PointsBet took over?
Yeah, points bet.
Yeah.
Caltex, Ronson.
PointsBet. Caltex says Caltex, Ronson, Ramondas, Toyota, Southern Cross Group, PointsBet. Is that all of them?
Is that what Williams had up? 2.0.
Well, 2.0.
You can use the
Yeah,
audience.
that's PointsBet. So that's what, 6? Captain?
Counting Williams 2.0, he's also got 6 there,
Yeah, so I'm going.
excluding the
You gonna
Shark
lock in
Park
6?
double ups on Toyota.
Yeah.
You're gonna lock in 6, and the 6 are Chris. You've got to name them.
Yeah,
You just did.
Ronson, Caltex, Ramondas, PointsBet, Southern Cross Group, Toyota.
All right, Matty. What's the correct answer?
I think that's pretty much it. I said that yes, they would get it.
Hey!
I think-
And that is the correct answer. Well done, fellas.
So we all got a point, and I still won. Oh, I also
Yeah.
went yes because I was like, "Hey, they'll get it," and then also quick gamesmanship too. I was just like, "Well, if they do get it and they gain a point and I lose a point,
Yeah,
I'd have
but it
to
would
go
have just
yes,
been
right?
funny if you'd have said no.
had to go yes." Always
All
fair.
right, fair enough. All right, that was trivia. A Hisense was only a front of jersey, Stuart. They were never the stadium sponsor.
answer these.
All right,
comments.
last segment. That was the trivia. So I'll be down at Sharks at Creela again. I'm just working out the date, actually. I'll tell you the date once I've worked that out and remember it. But in the meantime, Lats has got a fun fact for us.
Fun fact. All right, I've got a fun fact. Something I experienced back in 2005. I had a friend, as you guys all know, Christy Mills was in the Big Brother house. She came out of the Big Brother house and lived with us for a while. We got to go to a few cool things. She took us one night to an event in Castlereagh Street in the city to a rooftop bar. It's called Stars Behind Bars, in which I went behind the bar and had a shot with none other than Chris Hemsworth, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure Casey wanted to see Thor's hammer, but we won't go there. Yeah, we were in the Sydney Morning Herald doing shots with Thor, which was pretty awesome. It was before he went over to America. He'd just sent over all his sort of pilot stuff, and he was just fresh out of Home and Away. But got to have a shot and a drink with a Marvel superhero.
Very
There you
cool.
go. Well, you don't talk about.
I'll have to find that newspaper clip.
Yeah, well, we'll put it in the thing. Yeah, it's fun fact.
We'll get him on the podcast next week.
Yeah, mate. I was only talking to him the other day, so I'll
Fair enough. All right, the next trivia is on July 23rd. I think that was just confirmed with me today. 23rd, which will be a Wednesday night. Come on down. Yes.
If you catch Raw today, a friend of the show, I'm sure he's a constant viewer and one of your favourite superstars, Grayson Waller, was wearing a New South Wales Blues jersey today on Raw. So,
How good.
Man, so getting behind the Blues.
How good's that? How good's Grayson? Well, I'm wearing a wrestling shirt tonight.
I thought you'd like that.
Oh, that's very good. All right, that was the ET Stand podcast for this Tuesday, the 17th of June. Do log in and check us out for the watch along tomorrow night with the Wires Up TV boys. We've got guests from the Paracave podcast, Stormy Daniels, and
Stormy Daniel.
Stormy Daniel, not
Is
Stormy
Trump
Daniel.
coming on as well?
No, Trump's not coming on. And we've got we've got On the Range podcast also joining us. And trivia, here we go. What position did Christy finish in Big Brother? I'm going to answer that. Hold on. Chris and Lats aren't allowed to answer. And see if
I don't know.
Franko and Williams can get this. I reckon she was third. That's what I reckon. Is that the right answer, lads?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never
sure.
seen it. Don't know who she is. Sorry.
Sure.
Chris?
She's in between there, but she was third or fourth, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm pretty sure she was third. There we go. Wires Up TV.
So you, the
CNC.
Logan twins won it.
Yeah, that's right. All right. And then Stuart Campbell coming up saying, think we lose this week. I've going and never seen us win at Suncorp.
Same my brother.
Have faith,
Well,
Stuart. There's a streak's got to end at some stage.
Yeah, that's probably also true. All right, gang, that was the ET Stand podcast. Thanks for joining us this week. We will see you for the debrief as well after full time. Thanks, gang. Up Cronulla.
Thanks, guys.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.